Welcome to Style and Glamour with Yolanda's. Many of the shows you've seen about fashion and beauty, and today it's all about Elemental Scents. Elemental Scents, a product you have to have. You're not fully dressed without your cologne. And today with us is the founder, Roberta. Thank you so much, Roberta, for coming and telling us all about Elemental Scents.
Well, thank you for having me, Yolanda.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you started this.
Well, it's actually an interesting journey. I started the company in 2002, prior to that, I was a software engineer for many years, for
Really?
over 20 years, and through all of the things that happened during the economic downturn around 2001, I ended up losing my then position as a software engineer and found it very difficult to get back into the industry.
But you're in such a nicer industry and such an enjoyable one.
It really is. It really is. I enjoy it so much more. And it really was my passion ever since I was a little girl. I always loved everything about fragrance. I can remember my first fragrance. The first thing that I ever smelled that I fell in love with was Chantilly. So many years ago, yes. Yeah, and there's a whole childhood memory behind it and the whole bit, and it just resonates with me to this day. I still wear it once in a while, even though people call it old lady, you know. But I do. I still really love it. And yes, so when I lost my job in software, I thought, well, geez, you know, with nothing to do, if I could do anything in the world, if I could choose anything I wanted to do with myself, what would I do? And the first thing that came back was, I want to do something with fragrance. And I really wanted to produce it. I really wanted to learn how to mix every ingredient together and make these beautiful smells and create all of these different types of smells from all of the different ingredients of essential oils and everything that gets created.
I mean, for a young company, you have become so well known. I mean, through the media, and it just keeps growing and growing. And now you have a new product line coming on board too.
Yes, we launched Elemental Scents 3 years ago, and we have 7 fragrances in the line. Air, earth, fire, water, and spirit are the core elemental scents that I created, and then 2 men's fragrances, Monsieur and Pt1 Blanc.
Wow, that sounds... Now, the men now must be really fascinated and loving this, so they just don't stop and buy a gift for their ladies. They can get something for themselves.
That's absolutely true. And water is also a unisex fragrance, so it's good for men and women. But you're right, the men's fragrances, I added those on after the initial 5 because I really wanted to have something that was specific for men so that they could, you know, there was something that would really appeal to them. And we did 2 specific fragrances. Monsieur is a very, what's called a fougère, which is in French means fern, and it's a very classic structured cologne. It has that beautiful top notes of lime and spices, and then the middle is a really nice lavender, and then the bottom is that musk and that nice little, that nice sort of soft sort of musk and oak moss. So it makes for a beautiful cologne. And then Pt1 Blanc is more of a classic leather sort of scent.
Okay.
Smoky, leathery, musky. It has little bits of some little bits of dark citrus and a little, actually even a little bit of chocolate.
Wow.
And when women smell it, they're like, I want that on my man.
Now, do they have a hard time picking? Do they have a woman help them decide, or do you find a lot of men can do it on their own?
I find a lot of men actually need help choosing a fragrance. And they look to the women in their lives, or they look to the significant people in their lives to ask them what they think of it. Because I think that they want to wear something, but they also want to wear it for the reason of the approval of the people that they care about.
Exactly.
And I think that that's important to them. Or if they're looking for someone special in their lives, they go to people that they trust and ask them, if I wear this, will this be attractive to people if they smell this on me? So,
right.
Yeah. So I do think that they need some assistance with that.
Well, I find that a lot of women sometimes wear too much. Did you find, is there a special way that they should put it on? Is there a trick to it so you don't do the wrong thing?
I think that there's a couple of things that you can do. When you put on fragrance, there's certain places that you put it on, and typically you want to put it in warm places where it's going to rise. That's the best thing you can do. That's the typical thing. So you want to do back of the knee, inside of the elbow, here in the dip of the collarbone, down between, you know, in the bottom part of your
Cleavage,
chest.
right?
The other place that you can put it is actually right here in the back of your neck.
I've always put it there.
Yeah, and I like it there because then when your hair moves, it kind of wafts through the air. So that's definitely good places to put them. You can, of course, you can put some on your wrist. The thing about wearing too much, what happens when you wear fragrance is eventually, like other things, and an example I could give you is, you know, we all, every single person's house, every person's home has a signature smell.
Right.
You walk into somebody else's home, you can smell it. You walk into your own home, you can't smell it.
Really?
Yeah, you can't smell how your own home smells because you're so used to it. Well, when you wear, especially a signature fragrance, you become so used to it. Once you have it on, you'll smell it when you first put it on, and then you think it's faded away, but it really hasn't. So unless you are wearing a fragrance that evaporates very quickly and doesn't last, have confidence that one application is enough for the day, and maybe you might want to reapply before you go out at night, but several reapplications during the day are probably not necessary or appropriate.
And maybe that's what the girls do wrong. Some of the girls that you find, oh my God, she has too much cologne on tonight or something.
Yeah, and also I think another part of what happens is as people get older, your sense of smell isn't as good.
Right, it's true.
Not as acute. So, you know, maybe you're over-applying just so that you can smell it yourself.
I love the idea, though, the personal scent. I know that I was telling you earlier that my daughter, I went to her home one day and she wasn't home, and I saw my grandson and we talked and I left, and she called me an hour later and said, "You were at the house today," and I said, "Oh, did Dimitri tell you?" She said, "No, I just knew you were here. I could tell by the scent." So, because I wear the same all the time.
Right.
And I'm dying to try elemental scents because the personal touch, I think, of the cologne is so important.
Oh yes, absolutely. And it really does become your signature. And scent is a really interesting thing for that reason, because when you smell something, it's the only sense of our human senses that goes directly to your brain. It goes into what's called the limbic system, and it really touches us emotionally.
Right.
So we have these memories and these you know, these emotional touchstones to how someone smells. Like, so your daughter recognizes you by this scent that you have. I have memories of my grandmother always smelling like a rose perfume that she loved, and so every time I smell roses, I think of my grandmother.
That's fantastic.
It is, and it's so powerful. You know, people don't understand sometimes, I think, how powerful your sense of smell is.
Well, I think the important thing that I learned looking into everything that you do is that you have a lot of different scents that either create relaxation, energy. I know when we used to give massages at Yolanda's, that we had a lot of essential oils that we would use if the person feel that we're so tired, we kind of energized her, or if she wanted to relax more because she was tense.
Right.
Now, I understand this is your product too.
Oh yeah, and I think that that's really true. And I'll kind of go through it a little bit. With air, I think that air really does have this sort of calming effect, but it's bright. It's not like a sleepy sort of calm. It's just like this very great feeling of energy and just alive and just breezy and light. And earth is a very grounding scent. It really, I made it so that it smells like the green of the forest, you know, in the spring.
Right.
So you get these nice, you know, smells of like green leaves and little violet smells and iris. So it's not really a very floral smell, but it's soft and it's very relaxing, and it's very it's very peaceful.
Well, I know at this time of year, if a gardener comes to my house and he does the lawn, I love the smell of freshly cut grass.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's beautiful.
It really is. It's just that green sweetness is like a combination of the two that's just so beautiful.
Right.
And water is a great example too. Water is this really oceanic sort of smell. So I thought of like a beautiful day at the ocean where you have these bright citrusy sort of notes at the top, and that salt air, that beautiful salt air that's just like, you just breathe it in and you just go, oh, that's just so nice. You just feel so...
We needed to use more of that this winter with all the snowstorms.
And really, you can do that. You can actually kind of pick it to your moods. Fire is a great example. It's a really strong oriental spicy, and so it is the coziest scent on a winter day.
Is that the sexiest?
I would say it is the sexiest because it's an oriental, so it's that deep rose, jasmine, cinnamon, musk, frankincense. You know, it's like the spice cabinet plus all of these beautiful florals in it. So it really, it is.
So if you had a hot date with someone you wanted to impress, you should try that.
You could wear that for a hot date, and I would also say you could wear a spirit for a hot date. Even though spirit is a very meditative and sort of an ethereal sort of smell, it's a beautiful tuberose in the middle. So that's the floral that I really went for in spirit. So it is a beautiful feminine floral.
You've captured it all, just in scents and all these beautiful elemental scents. And you don't stop, you just keep creating.
It's, you know, inspirations come from everything that as long as I'm smelling something every day, I'm inspired by something.
Right, exactly.
You know, and so.
It can set your mood for the day. You take a quick shower and then you just dab this on and now you're a whole new person.
It does, it does. And recently, in the last year, I added lotions, bath gels, perfume oils, and solid perfumes as well, so that people really could have a choice of what application they wanted to have the scent in. Because some people really don't want to wear a fragrance, like spray it on, but they're like, oh, you know, if I had a lotion that smelled like that, I'd really like to put a little body lotion.
Just rub this on and just make yourself feel really beautiful.
That's right.
Soft and delicious.
Yeah.
Just wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, how does a woman tell? I mean, she goes into every single department store. We talked about this earlier. The first thing you see is the makeup, cosmetics, colognes, perfumes, when you go into the store and when you go out of the store, which means it is necessary for your wardrobe. It's part of your wardrobe.
Absolutely.
But how does she know? Should she buy perfume or should she buy cologne? Which one?
Well, and
is there a big difference? Huge?
Well, there is a difference. So typically what happens is the way that most perfumers, including myself, break things out is by parfum or parfum, eau de parfum, eau de cologne, eau de toilette. And so those really kind of, and those are different concentrations. So what you're doing is you're taking the concentrated formula of whatever the smell is, whatever your scent is.
Right.
And then you're mixing it in different media. So parfum is almost the pure absolute of your fragrance with just the tiniest bit of alcohol and the tiniest bit of water just to make it diffusive, so when you put it on, it blooms.
Okay.
Because if you left it in its pure oil form, it's so oily, it doesn't get diffusive as much. So, and then eau de parfum, what you're doing is you're putting somewhere in the neighborhood of between like 20 and 25% of the actual fragrance, and then you're mixing it with a mixture of alcohol and water, and it's very brilliant, and you put it on and it lasts a long time, and it's very diffusive as it goes on because the alcohol in the water spreads the little droplets wherever you spray them, and then the alcohol and the water dissipate, they evaporate, and then you're left with these nice little beads of the fragrance all over you.
Now I understand perfume lasts much longer if you apply rather than the cologne. I mean, if I sprayed myself with cologne, it would not last as long as the perfume?
That's correct, because again, it's the concentration. So when you're putting on perfume or parfum, it is the most concentrated version. So it's very oily, it tends to be very oily, and when you have anything that's oil-based, it's not going to evaporate as quickly because the oil is fatty. So it won't allow the molecules to dissipate into the air as quickly. It smells stronger. It smells a little bit closer to the skin. It's not so around you. It doesn't give as much of a, as much of a perimeter of fragrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what determines the price? I mean, like there's so many colognes out there that are so, perfumes, I should say, that are so expensive. What determines that? What
ingredients and materials really does, such as Jean Patou, Joy, one of the most expensive fragrances in the world.
More than Chanel?
Per ounce, yes.
Okay.
Because of the amount of absolute rose and rose de mai and jasmine absolute, sambac jasmine that they use in the actual formulation. The same thing with number 5. Number 5 and Joy, I'd say, are probably the most expensive for that reason. In fact, some of these perfume houses, they actually have farmers in Grasse, France, that have fields specifically for them. They only grow for the perfume companies that they contract with. And you know, but the materials themselves, when you want to get, say, an ounce of Jasmine Absolute, it's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of flowers have to be harvested in order to make that small amount of Absolute, and the process is quite laborious, and that really brings up prices. So when you go back to why are some more expensive than others, it really depends on what ingredients they put in them.
Right.
If they're putting a lot of natural ingredients, a lot of absolutes that come from, say, rose, jasmine, tuberose, where it's difficult and you get small yields, it's going to be more expensive to make it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's fascinating because when I start looking through all of the material that I got from you, and I saw the kinds of things that are happening with your company now, you've got all kinds of bath oils, lotions, besides just the elemental scents.
Yeah, yeah. I spread the line. I increased the line to make sure that people had some options, so that they could decide how they wanted to use the product. And I thought it was really important too. A lot of times people are traveling, and to have a large bottle, a 2-ounce bottle, say, of the eau de parfum or the eau de cologne, isn't appropriate as you're traveling. So we have little purse-sized sprays, and we have little bottles of perfume oil and solids so that they can just go in a purse. They're easy to carry. You know, they're not going to spill in your luggage, and they're going to go through security too if you're traveling someplace.
Right. Well, you know, I found that because a lot of times when we're traveling, I'd love to keep that little small size. So it's important that you have that on your line now.
Oh, yes.
Now, it's available locally here. So tell us a little bit about that if they're shopping and they really want to buy this product.
Well, we actually got into Whole Foods in Newtonville on Washington Street, and so they're carrying 3 of the 7 of elemental scents right now. They're carrying Fire, Water, and Monsieur, and they carry it in all of the different types. So you have the choice of the sprays, the spray perfume and the spray cologne, the solid perfume, the oil, the bath gels, and the lotions. And there's a shower gel for the men, and a body lotion for the men.
Can you take any of the perfumes or colognes and drop them into the water?
Absolutely.
And it doesn't, I mean, like it might drop and it kind of floats around like some oil, right? But it works really well.
You can.
Or do you have to call it a bath oil?
Well, you could actually take the perfume oil, because the perfume oil is the absolute fragrance, and it's mixed with what's called fractionated coconut oil, which is a beautiful, beautiful coconut oil. It doesn't go rancid because the part that makes it go rancid has been taken out. So you can actually drop a couple of drops in your bath water, and you get this beautiful smell. And because it's in water, again, the whole thing about diffusiveness, when you take a little bit of fragrance and you put it in water, it instantly blooms, because it gets carried on the vapors of the molecules of the water as they're evaporating, and it just it's heavenly.
Delightful. It's delightful.
It is.
But you know, now you're a woman in business and entrepreneur. You know, what advice do you have for women